for the National Association of Legal Professionals. We are the Nashville chapter. Our mission is to engage, inspire, enhance, and promote continued legal education and support through various programs and givebacks. If you are interested in NALS, if you are interested in becoming a member or in joining our email guest list to receive future notifications or what we can do for you, please visit us at nals.org or feel free to reach out to Jennifer Mustaine and I. Jennifer Mustaine is the President and Co-Education Director, and I am the Treasurer and also Co-Education Director, and Jennifer is joining us today as well. Thank you, Jennifer. Before we begin, I do have a few Nashville chapter announcements. First, we would like to invite you back to our next scheduled Lunch and Learn. The next one begins on June 3rd. We are hosting another COVID-19 special similar to this presentation. That topic will be how to enhance your Zoom meetings. And our guest host for that event will be Stevie Ray. He is the Executive Director of Stevie Ray's Improv Company. And again, that's June 3rd. Our following Lunch and Learn is scheduled for June the 10th. That's our regularly scheduled program. Our guest speaker for that will be Lucas Elliott from Frost Brown Todd, and his presentation topic will be the Deepwater Horizon case, which I think will interest Bill Ramsey here. Interestingly, that case is connected with Neal and Harwell as well. Again, that's June the 10th. Please be sure to RSVP with me and join us for both dates. Second to last, we will be providing CLE certificates for today's attendance. If you should need one, please email Jennifer Mustaine at jennifer.mustaine@wallerlaw.com. Is that correct, Jennifer? Great. And she will certainly provide you one of those CLE certificates for you. Lastly, this presentation is being recorded and will be available for future reference if you are interested. That being said, I would like to introduce you to our guest speakers. William Bill Ramsey is a member of Neal and Harwell, PLC, here in Nashville, Tennessee. His law practice focuses on complex civil and criminal litigation as well as entertainment law. Phillip Hampton is the founder and chairman of LogicForce, which offers law firms premier legal technology consulting. Phillip has a master's degree in computer science from Vanderbilt University and is certified in numerous technological systems. Is that correct, Phillip?
Yep.
Very good. Together, Bill and Phil run the Bill and Phil Show, and they are published in the Nashville Bar Journal as well as other well-known publications. And we thank you both so much for being here with us today.
All right, I'll start out the introduction, but Phil and I, we violate a lot of Zoom rules because we talk over the top of each other because we're used to doing it. We've worked together now, how many years? 20 something, right?
Yeah, about 25 years.
All right. So we're going to take our ugly mugs off and share screen with you for right now. So we'll let you look at Phil more than Bill because he's prettier than I am.
Wow, that's
and
not saying much. That ain't saying much. That's right.
So this is collaborating remotely with Zoom. We're going to focus on Zoom, although I know you've got a later session that talks about Zoom, but we're going to use it just really as an example of how these meetings via Zoom work and to tell you what we've learned now that we've done a whole damn bunch of them. First of all, during this whole virus thing, can you see me on the screen there, Phil?
Oh, yeah.
All right. I'll start wearing this mask. Most people want me to put it on, but I've decided I look like Mort from the Bazooka Joe comics, if you've seen any of those. So here I am on my Mort costume, but then while I've been working at home, I will say I've been drinking a lot of beer and eating a bunch of sandwiches, and I've decided that, well, you know, maybe I've looked like the fat guy in the Zoom comics, Hungry Herman. So I'm going to try to not let you see a lot of me. You mostly look at the pretty boy because I've gotten my Zoom ugliness on.
So one other thing, Bill, before we get started, some serious stuff. So, you know, with this remote, these remote tools and everything, so we don't necessarily have to mask up, but it's interesting though, Bill, every time we get on a video call, people say, put on the mask, put on the mask. I don't get it. Anyway,
True.
Let's talk, first of all, before we start talking specifically about the tool Zoom, and we'll mention some other ones, but I actually got a lot of questions really at the beginning of the whole pandemic and people working from home, and people were in for a rude awakening, and maybe some of you fall in this category, about their home network being woefully inadequate to handle the extra bandwidth that was needed for these video calls. And so I did a fair amount of troubleshooting for family and friends over the phone. So the first thing you want to do is to make sure that you have an optimized internet connection at home or wherever you're doing your remote calls. And that really starts with your Wi-Fi signal. Most everyone is on Wi-Fi. Obviously, it's better to plug directly into a router, but most people have a router in a closet somewhere. So one of the first things that you want to do is to check your Wi-Fi signal. And there are a number of speed tests online. The one I use is called speedtest.net. And you can simply just check and see what kind of signal you're getting. And there are a number of things that will affect your signal strength in your house. Number one is just what kind of internet package do you have with your ISP, like a Comcast or an AT&T. And chances are, if you haven't upgraded to a newer package in the last, say, 3, 4, 5 years, you may be on a lower bandwidth package, and you probably need to check about upgrading it. The other things that can affect it is a router. Maybe you have a router that's 5 years old. Well, that router is using really old technology, and it's limited into how fast it can deliver internet to all of your devices. The distance that you are from the router. If you've got the router in the basement and you're on the 3rd floor, yeah, you're going to get poor internet bandwidth the further you are from that router. And then one of the biggest things that's been an eye-opener for a lot of people, I got a call from someone in my family, and it's like, I can't understand why my video calls are so choppy and people are, you know, they're falling off and so forth. And I said, well, what are your kids doing? Well, the kids are playing Fortnite, they're video chatting, they are doing everything online, streaming Netflix, etc., while this person was trying to actually work, and they're all competing for the same Wi-Fi signal. So that can also affect you. So now Bill, there's a couple of other options you can do besides doing this. Is you can get a Wi-Fi extender.
Yes.
If you want to talk about that.
Yep, I will. You want to mute yours, let me unmute mine here so we don't feedback.
Okay.
Let's try this. Better kill it, sorry. There we go. All right, so I've told a bunch of people to use, you got it? No?
Let's just do it. We'll do it the regular way. So can you hear me okay? Because I'm using Phil's mic. All right, so a bunch of people have told me, hey, you know, I want to buy a Wi-Fi extender. I think it'll work really well. I'm on the 3rd floor and the router is in the basement. And it will make your signal extend that far. The problem is the way those extenders work, they cut the bandwidth in half by definition. So Wi-Fi extenders don't really work all that well unless you have a really, you know, like a hot shot gigabit connection. If it's kind of iffy already, the Wi-Fi extender is going to make it even more iffy. The better solution is to buy these mesh networks. We've listed those. There's a bunch of them, and the mesh network works a lot better. It will really send a strong signal throughout your house. They're very easy to set up. So I've been advising pretty much everybody to switch to the mesh extender.
All right. So other things that we can talk about: optimizing your environment, positioning your camera, avoid background distractions, make sure that there is an unobstructed view of yourself. And later on, I'll show a video of all the wrong ways to do your Zoom meetings. And we've probably all seen them where I think there was one going around of our Senator Alexander yesterday. It was actually on the national news, and he is over in the corner of his of the camera view, and what was in the center part was his dog just lounging there in his den, and it was quite funny. Proper lighting is important. Backlighting, even though I wanted to show you, I'm in my office, I wanted to show everyone the beautiful sunny skies and the backdrop of Nashville skyline, but Unfortunately, or fortunately, that's all you could see. You wouldn't be able to see me with backlighting. Natural light from the window is the best. And now, Bill, you were telling me about a ring light. What is a ring light?
All right, a ring light is a selfie tool. A lot of people use these things to do selfies, and since I take selfies all the time and post them because I'm an Instagram model. I don't know if you knew that or not. But it's like a ring light, and you can put your cell phone in the middle, and they actually also come with a little microphone. But the ring light gives you a very soft light, and the things are very inexpensive. They're like 22, 23 bucks. And you can, matter of fact, it makes your cell phone a pretty good vehicle for working off of Zoom. So you might want to look at those if you're having trouble with the lighting. Again, natural light into your face or from the side from a window is as good as anything, but the ring light is a great option if you are functioning from a dark room.
Now, virtual backgrounds are an option on Zoom. I personally don't care for them too much, particularly in a professional environment, but there are times if if your backdrop is not presentable or it's distracting, you might want to use a virtual background. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. And then finally, dress appropriately. People that are on TV will tell you this: avoid, bold stripes and patterns, bright colors like bright white or solid black. Doesn't come across good on camera. And Bill, you added in here, what? No wife beater shirts?
Yeah, so you don't know this, but I'm a redneck. Rednecks like wife beater shirts. They have no sleeves in them. You've seen the sleeveless t-shirts. A lot of them, even if they get a t-shirt, they'll cut the sleeves out and cut them way down. That doesn't really look cool on them.
Well, that leads us to our next category here, 10 tips for avoiding video conference embarrassment. I've got a screenshot. I'm sure everyone has seen this of the foreign affairs correspondent there as his little kids interrupt his live TV shot. So Bill, walk us through these. What can we do to avoid embarrassment?
Okay, first thing to do is set yourself up a private space to work in. If you're in a space where a lot of people are in your family or your animals are roaming around, it really doesn't work very well, and it's distracting to the other people. Also, you need to, a lot of times people don't realize they don't raise their camera to an eye level. And let me show you what happens to you. I don't know if they can see me.
Yeah.
So you see, it gives you the people can see your double chin, not cool. So you need to have the camera raised up so that you're essentially at eye level. And before you go live, you obviously want to test out the camera, make sure you look okay. And there's, the environment looks well. Also, in a lot of these video conferences I've been in, it's been super distracting. You see people with all kinds of clutter around them. Marie Kondo would be very disappointed in them. They have not tidied up their space, and it does not spark joy when you look at a funky place. When you're not talking, mute your audio, and that's already done. The host will do that for you, and they've done that here. But in a lot of situations, the hosts don't do it, and it's very distracting if you have a lot of people talking, and it's just being basically polite. Don't interrupt others. The sixth thing I tell you to do is to slow down your speech. We get a lot of people that drank too much coffee in the morning, and I get on these Zoom calls with them, and they're talking about talking so fast you can't understand what they're saying. You don't want to do that. That's not really very pleasant for anybody to deal with. You're trying to get your message across. Don't be multitasking. It's very disconcerting when you see somebody on a Zoom call that's like Phillip's doing, is checking their email. They're looking over at another document. They're not looking at the screen, and it appears they are not paying attention. Also, you see a bunch of people that are doing like Phillip's doing now. They get up and walk around. That's also very distracting, and it's also rude, in my opinion. Make sure that you're plugged in. It really, you're liable to drop out if you're running off the battery on either a phone or a computer or an iPad or something, you'd be surprised. It burns up a lot of battery to do these conferences. So just go ahead and plug it in so you're not going to lose power. And then, you know, I don't think it's a good idea to be drinking beer. I don't think it's a good idea to be drinking whiskey, but it's also disconcerting if you're always picking up a bottle of water or a glass of water like that Florida senator did when he gave some rebuttal speech. Sure, you can have a cup of coffee or some water with you, but it's very disconcerting if you're drinking all the time, especially if it's alcohol.
All right. So now there are a number of options out there. We've just listed some of the ones that are more popular that we've seen used, we've used personally. And I will say, Bill, not to, break my arm, pat myself on the back, but, we were Zoom aficionados way before Zoom was cool, right?
True.
Yeah. So, but Zoom is one of our favorites. Microsoft Teams is another one. And I will just say that our internal IT staff, we use Microsoft Teams as our collaboration platform. And so it is just a natural extension to use that already for our internal team. But there are a number of others. Now, you added one in here, Life Size. Tell us about that.
All right. Life Size has become very popular with the family law bar, people that are handling divorce and child custody cases, and especially when they do mediations online, video mediations. They all, at least around here, use Life Size, and it's also a very well done, handy program to run. It claims it's the first 4K version of these video conference pieces of software or services, but it actually is very popular as well.
Sure. Okay, so the equipment you need, obviously it goes without saying, you need a PC or a laptop, camera, with the camera integrated or a separate camera, smartphone or a GoPro. It's helpful to have a microphone, a separate microphone, or a lot of the microphones that are built into the cameras work fine. That's what I'm using, the one that's built into my laptop, my Microsoft Surface laptop. A computer screen, optional equipment. Bill mentioned the ring light, having earbuds or headphones, particularly if there is some distracting background noise that might help you using headphones. I've seen a number of people do that. A green screen, if you're using the virtual backgrounds, highly recommend using a green screen. And that essentially is just a solid green backdrop behind you. You can buy these at, I'm sure at any kind of video supply store. And what that does, it lets you, it basically makes the virtual background work, so that I've seen people use a virtual background without the green screen, and it's real blurry and it goes in and out, and it's really very distracting. So if you're going the whole virtual route with the background, I recommend getting a green screen. And then it might also be helpful to have a second monitor screen. That way you have one screen dedicated to your video call, and then the other screen you could use to check email or maybe pull up a document that you want to share and so forth. That way you're not just being distracted as I was earlier when I was trying to find my mute and I only had one screen here.
You never found it.
I never did, yeah.
But also going back to the GoPro issue on the previous slide, and you can use an SLR camera, but you have to have a video capture device to make that work. Like all these cameras that some people think they can use just a regular camera for one of these video conferences, you really have to have a video capture card that can be external to make that work. And so remember that that won't automatically work. Also know that it's very difficult now to buy webcams. Webcams are selling out like crazy, and if you can find one online, right now they're double the regular price. It's just the last time I looked, all the Logitech ones.
So we've got toilet paper, paper towels, and webcams, or the hot commodity items during the COVID. So here's the reason I want to focus on Zoom, Bill, is because there's a number of reasons. First of all, it's very easy to use, particularly for people that haven't used a video conferencing app before. Second of all, there is a free version that has a very rich feature set. So if you are getting a client or a colleague to connect, they don't have to buy anything. And you can see that their usage has exploded this year. And you see the average daily users just in December was 10 million. In March of this year, it's up to 200 million users a day, average daily users. So Zoom has definitely hit their growth spurt. And they've had some issues. They've had some growth pains. There have been some security concerns I'm sure everyone has heard about. Bill and I have looked into those. There were some that were legitimate and some that were more user focused. Let me address, first of all, the encryption issue that some people have heard about. Yes, the video call is encrypted end to end. There is an exception to that. That is if someone is joining the call over a telephone. There's always, you have the option of allowing people just to call in on a telephone number if they can't join via video. Telephone calls in that case are not encrypted. So that the Zoom company issued that clarification, but any telephone call that you make is not encrypted. So that would be impossible, with current technology. The other thing is initially you had no way of being able to determine where your video call was being routed. And they have servers all over the world. Some of those calls were being routed through China. Some people didn't like that. So now I think there has been an update that you can specify, I only want my video calls to be routed in servers, in the United States or whatever country you choose. Now, the whole issue of Zoom bombing. What is Zoom bombing, Bill?
Zoom bombing is a situation where someone gets the conference ID and they know the conference is occurring, or they get the link some way, and then they actually barge in. They're an unwanted visitor into the Zoom meeting. And really, a lot of them have been really tacky. Some people Zoom bomb and they go in and play porno or really tasteless videos as part of their Zoom bomb. And there have been a bunch of famous cases about it. So it's just, you've got basically somebody that is a trespasser in your Zoom meeting, and they're wreaking havoc on the meeting.
So my contention is that is not really Zoom's fault, because there is, and I'm going to show you here very shortly, when you set up your meetings, you can set them up with a password and with a unique meeting ID. And so if you do that, then whoever comes into your meeting has to have that particular meeting ID and that password. I think that's how the meeting was set up today. And so what's happening though, as people begin to discover Zoom, people just apparently didn't really read all of the documentation and would just set up these open meetings with an ID they would use over and over again, and no password, no regulation, anybody could pop in. And so that's what's happened with these Zoom bombing cases. Highly recommend that you lock it down with the password and you have some mechanism to admit people into the meeting, particularly if you're dealing with a work issue, confidential conversations and so forth. So let us then jump into some of the settings there are a ton of settings, but I just want to go over some that Bill and I thought were important maybe to set at the outset of our recommendations. Number one, so you can go into the settings from zoom.us. You can go to the website, create an account. There's no charge for that. And you can, like I said, there's a basic plan that you can do free calls. It's limited to 40 minutes a call. And I think the participants is limited to maybe 100. And that's the free plan. So you can do that all day long. Once you go in, you can go to the settings that you see here. And one of the things is you can specify when I start a video call, a meeting, I want to automatically turn on my video. So I've got that set to yes, so that I don't have to fumble around trying to turn on my video. It automatically comes on. And then there's also the participants. So if you've told your participants this is going to be a video conference, then maybe go ahead for them and automatically turn on their video camera. Again, some users may be novice users and not really know all the features of Zoom, and so they may not be able to find how to turn on their video camera. So what I've done on my settings is have that automatically come on. Then the other thing is allowing telephone and computer audio. I really like this because I prefer to use my computer audio rather than calling up on a telephone. because I don't want to have a telephone connection and a computer connection simultaneously that I'm trying to manage. But you recognize that some people may not have access to a computer. They may be listening as they're driving and so forth. And so a telephone call might be the best way for them to participate. So I leave that setting where I allow both. But keep in mind that you could disallow telephone call-ins and you know, if you have a problem with the encryption piece on that. All right. These settings on the personal meeting ID, I do enable a personal meeting ID, and that's, I could set up a meeting with just my meeting ID, and every meet, I've heard some people say, you know, to set up your personal ID, if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, and then when you send out an invite, you always use that same ID. And you see that next section that I've got highlighted there, to use the personal meeting ID when scheduling a meeting. I turn that off. And here's the reason why. Because if I did a video conference yesterday with group A and I used that ID, and today I'm doing another conference with group B using that same ID, what if somebody from group A is fumbling around in their emails, gets confused and think, oh, I need to go in this video call. They click on that link and they will come in on group B when they were supposed to be in group A. So I don't want there to be any confusion. And so I do not use my personal meeting ID when scheduling a meeting. I let the system schedule a unique ID for each meeting. That way I know when I send out the invitation that only the people that get this are the only ones that can possibly get into the meeting. Does that make sense, Bill?
Yeah, and that was one of the features of Zoom bombing, actually.
Yeah.
People using the same personal meeting ID. If somebody ever gets it, they're in.
Okay. So I also require a password when scheduling new meetings. And again, it's a little bit cumbersome for the end user to have to type in a password. But again, it's a little bit cumbersome when you go to the airport having to go through security. It's a necessary evil to keep people that you, particularly in a confidential situation where you're discussing maybe a case or whatever, you want to lock that down with the password. And so I also require a password for instant meetings. What's an instant meeting? That's where I don't schedule something in advance, but I say, hey, Bill, let's get on a Zoom meeting. I want to collaborate on this presentation. And I say, just go. And if I could do that from my console, I want it to automatically generate a password as well. Okay, chat. I do allow chat on most of my meetings and private chat as well. Chat. The general chat is where someone could type in the chat box and the whole group sees. Private chat, which you can enable separately, means that people can communicate one-on-one with anyone on the meeting. So I do enable that. I prevent participants from saving chat. Bill, I don't know, you may have a feeling about that, particularly when dealing with a confidential situation with dealing with clients. Do you want people to be able to save chat logs?
Well, it becomes an issue in a couple of situations. One, if it's a mediation, a mediator will almost always say nothing is being recorded. For example, this Zoom meeting is being recorded, but we don't record meetings in mediations, and we don't record private chats if there's going to be if it's going to be a mediation. And if Zoom, and now they're, Ellen Lyle just used Zoom for a trial, you want to make sure that the private chat is not recorded either. So it depends on the situation. If it's a confidential situation, people become very upset if they think it's a private chat and it's being recorded. So whatever you do, whether it's you record the video or you record the chat, you need to be open, notorious, and tell people.
Okay. So on mine, I just don't allow participants to save the chat logs. That's my default. Okay, look at a few others. Who can share? I say that all participants can share, because if I'm invited somebody into a meeting, I may need them to share a document that I can look at, but I specify who can start the sharing when someone else is sharing. Only the host, myself or whoever is the host. If you allow all participants to be able to hand out, okay, you share, it quickly can become chaos, particularly in a large meeting. So I do allow all participants to share, but only the host can regulate who that is. Remote control, I also turn that on to allow others to control the shared content. So let's say, and Bill and I did this recently where we were working on a PowerPoint. I shared it, and then I gave Bill remote control so he could actually get in and make changes on the document. So that's.
But be aware that when you do that, there's a time lag, so it can be disconcerting. Just realize if you're the person that is editing a screen, there is a lag.
Yep. All right, just a few more breakout rooms. So Bill can talk more about this. I haven't used this extensively, but it is a very, very cool feature in Zoom. Some of the others have the same thing. But Bill, how have you used breakout rooms?
Both in hearings and in mediations, because what happens is if you if you're in a mediation, if any of you have ever been involved in that, the mediator will normally split the parties up into separate rooms. It really is not very conducive to trying to get a case settled to put everybody in the same room and start beating on their chest and acting like a bunch of advocates. So you're normally separated into separate rooms. And then the judge or the mediator, whoever is hosting it, can meet with the parties one at a time. And when they do that, they are in a breakout room. The other side cannot hear a word that has been said in that breakout room at all. So,
or see
or anything. So the mediator will go to the breakout room and meet with the group, and then the mediator will leave the breakout room. But those parties, you may have parties in a mediation, and as ours were, they were all over the country. All the people on our side were in the same breakout room, and we could talk amongst ourselves and decide what our next offer was going to be. And the same way in a trial, if the court takes a break, for example, a recess, the court can put everybody on this Zoom trial in a breakout room where they can meet and talk strategy. So it's actually pretty cool.
Very cool. And I think you can manually put people in breakout rooms, or like if you were doing a focus group, you could just let the computer randomly put people in equal breakout rooms. Very, very cool feature. Very cool feature. And the virtual background, again, depending on your circumstance, you may want to disable that for your call so your participants can't put Star Wars behind them or whatever. There's a number of really funny backgrounds that people can do. All right, so let's just talk about, presumably everybody on this conference knows how to join a Zoom meeting because you're here, but you may have not hosted a Zoom meeting. So I'm just going to go through the steps on this really quickly and some of the control. Very simple. Like I said, you can do this from the website once you create an account. However, I recommend going ahead and downloading the app. It's just so easy to do it from the app. And you can do the app on your PC, on your phone, on an iPad. I think, Bill, you're working on an iPad today. Is that right?
Yeah, and the iPad actually works great. It's a very, very simple device to participate in Zoom. And as you know, especially the newer iPads have a very good screen resolution. So it's a nice solution. It has the camera built in, has the microphone built in. It's very easy to use.
All right. So you have, this is the app that when you first bring it up, you can either use it to join a meeting that you already have been invited to, or you have the meeting ID for, or you can go ahead and sign in. Again, it doesn't cost anything to create an account. You just have to give them, your email address and your credentials. So there's the sign-in screen, and then you get to the home screen of the Zoom app. And so you'll see from right here, I can start a new meeting. I can join an existing meeting. I can schedule a meeting for in the future, and I can share my screen. Okay, let's talk about scheduling, because most of the time, particularly in an office setting, you're going to be scheduling these in advance and sending out invitations. So one thing I really like is I can schedule my meeting, and one thing you want to pay attention to is it defaults the current day's date when you schedule the meeting. So a lot of times, this has happened more than once, sadly enough, people will send me an invite to a meeting, but they have failed to put the correct day. They put the right time, but it defaulted to today's date. Then they realize it, and they go back and say, no, it's for Friday. And they'll go in and put the correct date, and they'll send a new invite. So now I have 2 meeting invites in my inbox. And you can guess what happens. Half of the people on the invites, click on the old one, and they can't get in. They start calling, we can't get in, and half of them select the new one. So make sure, the first thing you do, make sure that your start date and time are accurate before you send anything out. And you'll see here where my defaults are in there, where it's going to generate the meeting ID automatically. I can override that on a particular meeting by meeting case. And it's also requiring a meeting password. And then down at the bottom, you'll notice the calendar integration. So I use Outlook. So I'm going to, when I click on schedule, it's going to automatically create the calendar invite in Outlook. I will show you that on this next page, where I can then send out the invite to everybody on the meeting. And you will see in the body of the email, there is the link, as well as the call-in information if people are actually using a phone to call in, and the meeting ID and the password. But really all you need is that link. All your users need is that link, and of course the password to join the meeting. Very, very easy to do. All right, so let's talk about, once we go, you'll notice up at the top, the meetings option in the menu. And when I go there, I can see all of the meetings that I have scheduled, and I can click on the meeting on the left-hand side. And then over on the right-hand side, I can either copy the invitation to send it to someone else, or I can actually go in and start the meeting. You click on start. Oh, I forgot I had these animations on there. So there you go. All right, so you start the meeting, and you can choose to join with computer audio, or you can use the phone call. Again, I really prefer computer audio, as long as you have tested out the mic and everything sounds good. All right, this is probably the major complaint I hear about people using Zoom, is that when people come in, particularly if the host has not muted everybody, everybody comes in with their mics on, and you can hear everything. You can hear people, kids screaming, vacuum cleaners, whatever. And so you say, please mute your mic, and then no one can find where the mute button is. And I think I figured out why, Bill. Because it's different depending on what device you're using. On a PC, it happens to be at the bottom of the screen. You can use the Alt key to toggle the controls at the bottom, where you will see the mute. Now, it's different on an iPad, I believe, correct?
On an iPad, you just tap the screen.
Okay.
And when you tap the screen, you get the options at the top of the screen.
So it's just the opposite. That's why there's so much confusion. People say, it's at the bottom of your screen, and then someone says, no, it's not. They're probably on an iPad. So that's just a little bit of confusion there.
Or a Mac.
Or a Mac.
A regular Mac. I think they do the same thing.
Exactly. All right. So then we talk about security options. The next one thing I've heard some people do is they will use the same meeting ID because they want, I guess they want to simplify it, or maybe they're having recurring meetings with the same people, and they don't want them to have to click on a different link. But what they will do to enforce that no one else comes into the meeting, once the meeting starts and everyone is in the room, the host will click on security and lock the meeting. And that way no one else can get in unless they unlock it. All right. All right. So the host participant controls, very, very important who your host is. And again, I've been on some meetings here in the last few weeks where like a tech person maybe set it up and they were the host, but they didn't delegate anyone else to be the host. And maybe they went to somewhere else because they weren't in on the meeting, but they just set it up. And then whoever was leading the meeting or doing most of the speaking had no host controls. And so everybody's mic might, a number of people's mic was not muted. And so I know I was on one meeting and there was probably about 50 people on, and there was one guy that got a phone call, and he's sitting there carrying on a conversation, had no idea that his mic was unmuted. And no one could find the host to mute him. And people were trying to get, hey, Bill, hey, mute your mic. And he was totally, it was awful. So make sure that your host stays connected, because they can click on this participants and they can mute everyone, or they can mute specific individuals. Like Bill, I could just mute you right now if I wanted to.
That's good. If people get unruly and they act like a jerk, you just mute them.
Now, other things that you can do is you can make someone else a host. So like when in that participant window, you can designate someone else to be the host. And another thing, you can rename. If you're not using the video, you can just have your name show up in the box. It is very easy to put a different name in there. So I just mentioned that because someone, particularly in a mediation or whatever, I'm sure, Bill, it's not beyond the realm of possibility that someone could put in another person's name and actually spoof somebody else in a meeting.
They could,
Yeah.
but that's up to the host to enforce those rules and make
Yeah.
sure that's not happening.
All right, let's go to chat. Everyone's using chat, but you can go to the chat log and chat with people. Screen share. Now, here's one thing. When you go to share your screen, and the host would have to give you the ability to share your screen. One thing, some people will share their entire screen. That first option there is share their entire screen. I don't like to do that. And the reason is because I may have other applications or notifications coming on my laptop. Some may be confidential that I don't want the whole world to see. So I will share just the application that I'm going to be working with, like PowerPoint or Word or the whiteboard, if you just want to use a whiteboard to write freehand or what have you. So that's just my recommendation. I've seen people share their entire screen, and then you start seeing notifications about their kid's soccer practice or a text from their kid about, I'm sick, can you come and get me some orange juice or whatever, and that's distracting. So there you go. Record. Bill's talked about this. You can record these meetings. You can record to the cloud or to this computer. If you record to the cloud, you are limited in how much you can record, and the quality is somewhat dumbed down so that the file is not so big. So if there is a situation that you do want to record a Zoom meeting, my recommendation is record it to your computer. Okay, then you'll get the video file on your computer, and then you can upload that, whether it's to YouTube or whatever video sharing platform that you want to make it available. But I think Bill's recommendation is, particularly in confidential situations, do not record, but if you do, let everyone know.
And you need to be open and notorious about recording people, even though it will inform you up at the top right or wherever of your screen that is being recorded. I would be very careful about it. There are states that say everybody has to consent to the recording. So I would be very, very careful about recording without telling everybody that's what you're doing.
Or maybe even having a notification on the screen, we are recording this call.
Yeah, and you're getting it now. Most everybody should be getting it on their screen,
Yeah.
saying we're recording now. But I just, belt and suspenders, make sure everybody knows.
Good. All right, and then the more option, that is where you can access the breakout rooms if you've enabled that in your settings. And again, Bill's talked about that. All right. So let's talk now a little bit more about video conference etiquette, Bill. I think you mentioned check your appearance on the video before going on a live call. Look into the camera. Bill's already mentioned that. Advise family and roommates when you're going on a video conference to avoid pop-ins. Mute the mic when not speaking. These are just reinforcing. Go off camera. If you get a separate phone call and you've got to take it, don't be taking a call like this, and don't speak over other speakers. So I've got Bill, and after this, we'll pause for some Q&A, but let's see if we can. I'm sure everyone has seen this, but let's go here and tell me which Zoom user are you? If I can start this. So are you the guy on the iPad? Bill, that would be you.
Yeah. The one in front of a window.
The one in front of the vertical. People that use their phone, use it landscape mode. That way you won't look like that. The one in front of the bookcase. And now I'm trying to read all of his books. And this is my favorite, is the drinker.
Yeah, that's me.
But not just coffee, but also some Java juice, and oh yeah, the water bottle too. Yeah, the drinker. And you love the people that either they're outside or their virtual background is on the beach, or they're in outer space, or they're on the set of The Office. This is Senator Lamar Alexander yesterday. He was in the corner. Or you could be at the bottom. Oh, we all love pets. Pets and kids, they spice up your
Yummy.
video call.
Yeah.
We've all seen the walker. Very distracting.
Wow.
And yes,
The busy one.
the busy one. And this is my personal favorite, the family members cameos. It's going to the bathroom.
Lovely.
Someone getting something out of the fridge. And then the one clearly watching something on TV. And the one who just woke up. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So which Zoom user are you? So I think we'll pause here and let me see if I can, let me get out of this.
Cover
And
some Q&A.
Yep.
And also, a lot of this same stuff you can use Microsoft Teams for, and Teams comes standard with Office 365. I don't think it's quite as easy to use, but it's there, and it's also free with an Office 365 subscription.
Okay, so we have a question here. Bill, I'll let you address this. Couldn't the person who is coordinating everything accidentally put the wrong people in the breakout chat room? Seems like that could happen,
That
especially
could
in a mediation
happen,
case.
But normally what when you set those breakout rooms up, you will see who's in it. I mean, it will tell you, and so you can go, oopsie, and surely, which is what I advise to everybody, make a list. So you've got a handwritten list of who's going into one breakout room, who's going into the other one. And then once you set it up, just compare to make sure it matches your list. But yeah, people can screw that up. But the other participants in the breakout room will go, well, wait a minute, there's like an intruder in here. So it could happen, but it would be rare.
All right. Someone asked what is under more, and I think we covered that. That is when you have the option to start the breakout rooms. Any other questions? Or someone mentioned the audio recording from the Supreme Court last week. First time that the U.S. Supreme Court ever allowed audio to be broadcast, included someone flushing a toilet. That made national news. Absolutely.
It did.
All right. Other than YouTube and Facebook, what are the best sources to download your Zoom recordings to for long-term storage? Good question. I typically use YouTube, but I have a private channel. I do not make it public. So if the videos that I'm going to be sharing with clients or whomever, I keep them there, but I control who sees it by sending. They would have to get the link from me. Vimeo is another sharing site. Do you have any others, Bill, that you know?
Well, I've done it by actually, because it's free. With the Microsoft Office 365, I put it in OneDrive, or I can put it in Box.
Yeah.
And I can invite people, or Dropbox. And you can invite people. They'll have to click on the video and download it. So it's not as easy as it is, say, in YouTube, because YouTube works so well. I mean,
yeah,
it's incredibly well, but there are a lot of different ways to do it. But if you put it in something like OneDrive, you've always got it and you've got it stored.
I will say Dropbox, someone sent me a video test in Dropbox recently, and you can actually preview it in Dropbox without having to download it. So that is a good option. Someone mentioned about the 40 minutes time on the free version of Zoom. And someone had mentioned that at the end, when the 40 minutes was up, you were kicked out of the meeting, but you could come back and rejoin the meeting.
You can restart it.
So that's the poor man's video conferencing solution right there.
It's free. Free is good.
All right. So another question, Bill, how do the breakout rooms get set up other than just hitting the tab to allow that option? What do the rooms look like? Can you set one up right now? Well,
we could, but the rooms just look like a miniature version of what you're seeing here. So in other words, you only see the people that are in your room on your screen. That's all you see. So
The interface is the same. It's just it's
it
limited.
looks exactly the same, but then, so when you create a breakout room, you'll get an invitation from the host that says you're invited to a breakout room. Then you'll say, I'll accept it. And then you click on that and you go to the breakout room. You are now out of the big room. But it looks just like this screen here that you're on. So whoever's in your breakout room, you have the put on gallery view, you're going to see everybody in the room. That's what it looks like. Very simple.
So someone asked about the cost of the Zoom meetings if you have an account. Again, that you can have a free account, the basic, and you can use it all day long. Well, you can use it for 40 minutes at a time for that. I think the next version is the Pro version, which is $14.95 a month, I believe.
That's right.
And then there is one beyond that that's around $20. I don't have it in front of me right now, but it's,
And then there's like a firm wide, like a big license, so that everybody in your firm has a Zoom license. And, you know, say you've got 20 or 30 people or lawyers or whatever. To me, that's stupid. And I would get probably the Pro version, and they have plans where you can have a Pro version that has 3 full-blown licenses. They give you a good price on it. I think that ends up being about maybe $35 a month. And so you can have 3 Zoom meetings going on at a time. But I don't know of a firm that's really, say 100% of your people are not going to be hosting a Zoom meeting all at the same time. So most everybody you're going to have on a free version, and if they need to set up Zoom meeting, they borrow the firm ID.
okay, here's another question, and this bears on this. Do you have to, does everyone you invite to the meeting have to have a Zoom account? No. That's the beauty of this, is that to join a meeting, you do not even have to sign up for an account. All you need is that URL that is sent in the invitation. And in the settings, you can specify whether or not to allow people to join the meeting directly from the website. So I generally do this, and the reason why it's easier, or I think downloading the app is better than joining through the website, but particularly in dealing with people in a lockdown environment like government workers, a lot of times they cannot download software on their computers. And so they would not be able to download the Zoom app. So for those people, you would want to allow them just to click on that web link and to join via the web. Again, you don't have to sign up, put in your credentials or anything. It's totally free to the end user.
And this has gotten so popular with the United States government. Every district court and every bankruptcy court has a like mega Zoom license, you know, really nice licenses. And now the U.S. Attorney's Office is actually hosting Zoom meetings as well. You know, back in the old days, the federal courts were the first ones to have video conferences. And actually, I once put on a witness through a video conference in federal district court, but it was very choppy, not really high quality, even though it was that Cisco software they had at the time. But now it's a piece of cake in federal court because they've got a really heavy duty United States-wide Zoom license.
Okay, so someone is asking about downloading attachments such as this presentation. Can you attach it and show us here? I think I can do that in the chat window. Let me do that, and I will, I'll do that before the end. I will upload, I want to get to as many other questions, but I will upload the handout, the PDF handout, and it will be in the chat window. All right. Regarding the lack of encryption on phone calls, is Zoom working on the security issue loophole? Now, I'm not the total end-all security expert on telephony, but my understanding is that is a telephone issue that is not a Zoom or any other video conferencing issue. Is that phone call, like if I pick up a phone and call Bill, that is not encrypted unless I have some sort of a special phone.
You can have a special encryption on the phone, but both callers have to engage that encryption, and most of the time that's not done. So, but yes, Zoom is working on that one too.
But the way, you know, if you really wanted to say, I don't want any unencrypted connections, then you just don't allow telephone calls. Yeah. Okay. can I turn off the video to only some of the, as a participant, can I turn off the video to only some of the participants? I don't know that you can as a, as just a participant. I think you would have to be a host to do that. All right. So Bill, do you have anything final, or Amy, anything else? While you all talk, I will upload this, I will upload the handout to the chat.
We're good to go.
Yep. Thank you all very much.
I don't believe that I have any further questions. I just want to remind everyone, I have put mine and Jennifer's contacts over into the chat column. I've also listed NALS.org if you want to join up as a member or have any questions, or if you have any interest in any of the paralegal certifications that you can take and receive. If you have any questions at all, you can also contact us if you want to get a copy of the presentation or anything at all that we can assist you with. Please feel free to contact us at either of those email addresses. And I just want to thank Bill and Phil once again. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are greatly appreciative of your time and your talents. And we hope that you will consider being a, I see your mask, Bill, being some co-host for us again in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Adios.
Goodbye.
And I'm going to stay up for a little while for anyone that may have any private questions or would like to chat further.
Goodbye.
Bye. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Lisa. Hey, everybody. Michelle, everybody from Neal and Harwell. I miss you all so much. I hope you guys are all doing well. I'm actually going to unmute everyone now so that way anybody can chat and keep talking.
Hello, everybody.
Hi. Good to
Everybody
see you.
doing okay?
Hey.
Talk about etiquette. Did you see my puppy jump over the baby gate during
Oh.
Woo!
No, I didn't, but that's hilarious. I wish I would have. I'm so glad to see you all. I miss you all so much.
Good to see you too.
Are you guys enjoying your time at home? I know I have been. I don't want to go back full time yet.
Yeah, I forgot about the meeting. I'm not dressed. It's like, oh, I'm missing the meeting. Well, I'm dressed, but you know.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you guys are today.
I'm not dressed for a meeting, but you know, I didn't want to miss it, so here I am. But I gotta run. Y'all call me later.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Ginger. Hi, Lauren.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
You're welcome. Hope you have a good day.
So wait, so does it look like I'm on here?
Yeah, I can still
well,
see.
I told you yesterday, I like my daughter, but also I see down below, without video, my name is on there. Do you see my name listed, or the last name listed twice?
Yeah, and I actually thought about having everybody. And there were a lot of people that came in on iPhones, and I thought about having them rename themselves when they come.
Yeah.
So that way we can remember. Oh yeah, that's Lauren, or that's Jennifer, or that's Amy.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because I really don't know how to change it now. As I'm looking at it, I can't figure out why it's showing.
I can help you with that. Actually, if you go into the security and then you go into rename, so you can rename yourself in that category.
So it's securities within the Zoom system. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, it should be. What are you on? Are you on a Mac or are you on a
PC?
Okay, so it should just, if you look down at the very bottom of your screen, you'll see security, and then you can rename yourself.
Where I would see mute, stop video, participants. Right. So I don't see that.
I'm a host, so it might look a little bit different from me, but so you see the participants. You know what? I bet it is because I'm a host. Let's see if we can find you another option down here. Does anybody else who's still on with us, do they know how you can do you guys know how you can rename yourselves without being the host?
Yes,
you know,
I've done that before.
But actually well, I know the kids are really done with school, although technically until next week. And sometimes when they've been on Zoom calls at school, the school will only let them speak if it's their name. Maybe I won't confuse it today, but I will take a look at the settings, like maybe after they're done with school, just in
Gary,
case it. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think this is what you need to do. I think if you go and hover over your picture where it shows you're talking and there's those 3 ellipses, if you click on that box, it'll give you the option to rename. Do you see that?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, okay. I never thought of hovering over that. Okay, I see what you mean.
Yes.
And that would be the.
Jennifer, say that again.
So if you hover, so as a host, you know how we were hovering over the picture of each person, and we have the 3 ellipses box, but then we also have the mute option.
Yes.
Okay, so you click on the 3 ellipses because that's all they're seeing. Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Very
that's
good.
Just had to do that.
Good,
All right.
good question.
Yeah, great. All right, thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome, Lauren. Thank you for joining us today.
I didn't realize yesterday that I didn't look like I was dressed up, so I put on a nice shirt today.
Well, you did look nice yesterday. I didn't notice
Oh,
anything.
okay. I had a sweatshirt on and I realized, oh, wait a minute, everybody can see me. So, all right. Well, thanks a lot. Appreciate that.
Welcome. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you.
And I still see Gary Coyne is with us. Gary, did you have any questions? I don't see your video.
Yeah, that's
Is that you? Are you both?
for whatever reason, my daughter's name and my name are on here. But yeah, I'm
Oh,
gonna.
okay, so you're Lauren Coyne and Gary Coyne. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Double personality. Yeah.
You're
Split
Gary.
personality.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I know it's
actually
confusing.
just showing up as Lauren,
Yeah.
but over here on the side it's showing both names. So.
Oh, gotcha.
I got
Okay. Well, thanks again. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye. Jennifer, did you see that they downloaded the PDF presentation? So
Yes,
they
and
put
I'm
it over.
gonna,
Perfect.
yeah,
So
I'm
we'll
gonna
know how
stop
to
recording too. Hey, I'm
Huh?
sorry.